Okay, we just took a look at lowest common multiple and greatest common factor, and now we're going to see why those are useful. So let's take 2 over 4 as a fraction, and let's simplify that fraction. So as you can see in the notes, I rewrote the question and then did the method, not to get confused, but here I'm going to go straight to the method. So in order to simplify fractions, we're simply going to divide the top and bottom by the greatest common factor, the biggest number that goes into both. So I'm going to list those numbers off to the right. The numbers that go into 2 are 1 and 2, and the numbers that go into 4 are 1 and 4, and 2 and 2. I don't need the extra 2. And the biggest number in both columns is 2. So I know that I can divide the top and bottom by 2, and on the top 2 divided by 2 is 1, and on the bottom 4 divided by 2 is 2. I can circle my answer. Then on my calculator I can make sure that I did it correctly. So 2 divided by 4 equals 0.5. 2 over 4 equals 0.5. And 1 divided by 2 is also 0.5. Because they're all equal to each other, I know I have done it correctly. So in that case, it just happened to be that we divided the top and the bottom by one of the numbers in the fraction, but that's not always going to be the case. Let's take a look at 6 over 9 and decide on how to simplify that fraction. Well, we have to divide the top and bottom by the greatest common factor. The numbers that go into 6 are 1 and 6, and 2 and 3. And the numbers that go into 9 are 1 and 9, and 3 and 3. Therefore, the greatest common factor is 3, and I will divide the top and bottom by 3. And 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. I can circle my answer. I can check my answer on the calculator. 6 divided by 9 is equal to 0.6 repeater, and 2 divided by 3 is equal to 0.6 repeater, so I'm going to say check mark. You can decide if you'd like to show all of those steps on your calculator like I did above. So if you get a lot more difficult questions, list the factors off to the right, find the biggest number, and start dividing the top and bottom by that number. Outside of that, if you see that they're both even or some pattern that you recognize, just start by dividing it by whatever numbers you like. So I'm going outside of the notes. I'm just going to pick something random. 875 over 1,000. Well, the first thing that we can do is we can recognize that we have a 5 and a 0 last. In the lowest common multiple and greatest common factor notes, I spoke about how we know if 2 goes into numbers or 3 goes into numbers or etc. So I know that 25 definitely goes into both of these numbers. But I'm going to pretend like I don't and just start dividing the top and bottom by 5. So 875 divided by 5 is equal to 175. 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. And then notice I can divide it by 5 again. And 175 divided by 5 is 35. And 200 divided by 5 is 40. And notice I can divide it by 5 again. Excuse me, no fraction in the middle. Dividing the top and bottom by 5. And we'll get 7 over 8. And I can circle my answer, and I can check my answer on the calculator. 875 divided by 1,000 is equal to 0.875, and 7 over 8 is also 0.875, so I'm going to say check mark. Always checking your answer. Not sometimes, not when you want to, not when your teacher asks you to, whenever you can. Okay, so that was simplification, and you have to do simplification whenever you can. If you can simplify a fraction, you should. There are obviously idiosyncrasies where sometimes you don't, but 99.99% of the time we are going to be simplifying fractions, simply dividing the top and bottom by the greatest common factor. Now let's learn how to expand a fraction. So let's take a fraction 1 over 2. Let's times the top and bottom by 2. Times 2 times 2. I'm just randomly choosing what I want to times the top and bottom by. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. I'm going to circle my answer and check my answer on the calculator. Notice the same example from above. They're all equal to a half. So we get 2 over 4. Now, why would we want to do this? Well, we're going to learn when we add and subtract fractions in a couple of sections that we need to be able to do this. And I've included in this section because it's the exact reverse process of simplification. So let's take the same fraction, 1 over 2, and let's times the top and bottom by 3. And 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 3 is 6. And 1/2 is 0.5, and 3/6 is 0.5. They're all 0.5, so we know we did it correctly, so check mark. And again, this is called expansion, multiplying the top and bottom by whatever you want to, and obviously logical reasons for it. Okay, so again, simplifying and expanding, you have to be able to do it all the time whenever you have to. If it looks like you should simplify, we're probably going to have to simplify. If it looks like we might need to expand, we're going to need to expand, and they're not going to say expand the fraction. They're just going to say add and subtract fractions or do whatever, and you need to know that we have to be able to do these like the back of our hand.